Good morning. Hello, beautiful women. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to today's live training where I will teach you how to remove tension and aches from your lower back. So what are we going to cover in today's training? We're going to cover the most common reasons why you're getting sore lower back or have tension in there or stiffness, discomfort, or you might be setting it off with exercise. I personally know that when I surf a lot, sometimes, especially in cold weather, I get quite a bit of tension in the lower back. So the most common reasons for that, then I'm going to teach you all about the mobility sandwich. I don't know if you've heard that term before, but I use it quite a lot. So we're going to learn all about the mobility sandwich, and then we are going to learn a few quite potent mobility movements and strength exercises to help you actually put in some actionable steps during your day that can help you feel better and move better and not have that tension in your day. So, first of all, let me know if you're joining me live and let me know where you're joining me from. And if you're watching the replay, just put #replay and let me know who you are and where you're tuning from. It'll be really interesting to see too. So why are we getting so much tension in the lower back and the most common reasons for it? It's mainly our modern lifestyle. So over the hundreds and hundreds of years, we have become a lot more sedentary. We are sitting down too much, pretty much. And so when you are sitting down, you are obviously not moving much, and you also are really tightening your hips. So if I was to show you what happens in the body when you're sitting down, so this is your hips fully extended. If you're sitting down for long periods of time, now the hip flexors are contracted. Yeah, so they are continuously under tension and they are contracted, which means that over time, if you're not doing anything to compensate for this position, they just become tight and quite grumpy. Also, it's this. So not only can tight hips give you lower back pain, but also this type of posture. So becoming really locked up and tight in the thoracic spine, so the area around the shoulder blades, will also contribute to lower back pain. Okay, so I was going to say, I'm going to explain how the human body works. And the human body is an engineering marvel, and it was designed to have areas with high mobility and areas with high stability, and that's how it works. Okay, so for example, your neck has to be stable, your thoracic spine, so the area around the shoulder blades needs to be super mobile. Your lower back needs to be stable, your hips super mobile, your knees stable, your ankles super mobile. As soon as you upset this balance, so if you get tight in the thoracic spine or tight in the hips, the body will still do the movement you ask it to do. But now it doesn't have enough mobility in the hips or the thoracic spine. So what happens? It starts destabilizing the lower back. It will borrow the mobility from somewhere else. And that's why we get the pain in the lower back, because that's an area that's supposed to be stable and strong while thoracic spine and hips are moving. As soon as one of these areas gets tight, then you start getting destabilization in the lower back, leading to first tension, stiffness, and then aches, and then possibly injuries. All the kind of the bulging discs and these kind of horrendous injuries are all probably started with a lack of mobility, lack of strength, and then this is where it kind of ended a few decades down the line, okay? So it's not only mobility, it's also strengthening work you need to do. And that's why I talk a lot about the mobility sandwich. So every time you get something that's not working very well, something that's hurting you, something that is tight, something that's stiff, or if you actually are fully injured, then you need to do mobility sandwich. So injury is here. You need to mobilize the area below and the area above. So in terms of your lower back, as I alluded, you need to start mobilizing the thoracic spine. So the area around the shoulder blades and chest, often is the chest. Yeah, we often end up here because we become locked up. Chest muscles become super tight. Back muscles elongated, everything gets locked up and glued, okay? Shoulder blades get kind of glued up. Often this leads to frozen shoulders and all sorts of mischief. And then you need to mobilize the area below the lower back, which is the hips. From experience, when people come to me with sore lower back, 75% of the time they solve it with hip mobility and hip strengthening as well, okay? It's not just mobility, it's strengthening the area around the hips. If you've got tragically weak glutes that are not engaging properly, that means that a lot of the small muscles around the hip are taking the kind of the majority of the work. They become overloaded, tight, annoyed, grumpy, leading to lower back pain, okay? So it's not just mobility. You will improve your situation massively with mobility. But if you want a long-term relief or long-term health, and this applies to people who also don't have the tension in the lower back and aches, but want to prevent it, especially active people, okay? Because it's not just people that are sitting down a lot who are having issues with their lower backs, it's also very active people. I used to train in a gym, and I thought it was a fabulous idea to be lifting 1.5 times my body weight in a deadlift, but that gave me a backache, a lower backache for kind of 2 to 3 days afterwards. Okay, so I was kind of thinking, yay, I was so strong and so cool, killing it at the gym and lifting with the boys, and it was like, oh, I was so cool. And then I would suffer for 3 days afterwards. So clearly I was either not engaging the correct muscles, and probably in those days, I didn't really even know about mobility. So I probably had quite tight hips, possibly had quite tight thoracic spine as well. So this is not just for people who are having to work at a computer, and it is what it is. I have to work in front of a computer a lot too. I sit down, some people stand up as well, but that often puts a tension in the lower back as well, standing, especially if you don't have the strength and the correct posture to support yourself in that position, okay? So, mobility sandwich. Mobility sandwich goes to any area. I mean, today we're specifically talking about the lower back, but if you have sore knees, it's the same thing, hips and ankles, okay? If you have sore neck, obviously there's nothing above the neck, so you're going to have to concentrate on your shoulders and on your thoracic spine as well. All right, let me know if you have any questions so far about this. To just state a few client studies, I had a client, Sonia, who started doing mobility. She jumped into my mobility project program, and within 2 to 3 days, her lower back was instantly better. And this is something she suffered from for quite a long time, for years. I had a client who actually just recently I posted, she started doing hip mobility flows and has been doing it diligently every single day for a few months. And now the screaming hip pain that she used to have to take painkillers for is gone, and her lower back is massively improved as well. Okay, so it's honestly, you can see incredible results with mobility within days. Within days, you will feel a relief, okay? But let's run through some of my favorite mobility and strengthening exercises for the thoracic spine and for the hips as well. And I've done tons and tons and tons of hip training too. If you don't have my 6-day free mobility challenge, please let me know in the chat box and I send it to you. I always offer it to people as they are entering the group, because that is such a good taste, such a good kind of little taste of what mobility can do for you. And there is one of the days it's on hip mobility, and one of the days is on thoracic spine mobility. It goes 5 days, so neck, shoulders, thoracic spine, hips, and then knees and ankles, and the 6th day is a whole body mobility, okay? So if you don't have it, let me know. If you're watching this on YouTube, just find me on social media, send me a message, and I'll send it to you straight away, okay? So, my favorite mobility movement. So, first of all, we're going to get into the thoracic spine. One of my favorite, I'm just going to lower it because the light is a little bit, it's a horrendous weather here. We had springtime and now it's just awful. So, it's a rolling shoulder blade. Rolling shoulder blade is yummy. That's what it is. If I have to find a word for it, it's yummy. Okay? It's you want to do big opposing circles, and now don't just do the circles with your shoulders. Try to really send the work between the shoulder blades. So visualize that you're not only rotating your shoulders, but you're predominantly rotating the shoulder blade. Yeah? So try to go quite deep. And then we're going to go both ways. So you're going to reverse as well, okay? I hope you can hear me well. I tried to put my microphone on my sleeve now. So go both ways, okay? As I mentioned, the thoracic spine becomes locked because we often in this, from doing too much of this, doing too much of this, okay? So the gunslinger, it's incredible for just opening the chest muscles and again, just further mobilizing the whole shoulder girdle and the thoracic spine. Nothing works in isolation in the human body, okay? You kind of have to do like a systematic targeted mobility for the whole body, because just because you have a sore knee, it doesn't mean that the mischief is in your knee. It could actually be somewhere completely different, and it often is, okay? Often knee issues come from the feet and ankles or from the top, from the hips. So if you're getting a sore shoulder, it might have nothing to do with your shoulder. It might have everything to do with your shoulder blades or tight neck or tight rotators, you know? So really, if you want to solve persistent aches, persistent injuries, or persistently tight and stiff areas in your body, one or two isolated exercises is not gonna do it, okay? You just need a more systematic approach where you're gonna target all of the areas, because often, like when you've got tight ankles, it will affect the way you walk, and it will affect the way you run or do any sport. And then it starts creeping up. First you get tension in the knee, then you get something in the hip, and you get something in the shoulder, and it's all coming from the feet, okay? So that's why I'm a big fan of doing whole body mobility all the time rather than just some like a very targeted mobility of the area you think is at play, but it might not be. Okay, so these are the two exercises while standing, and then I'm going to show you one on the floor, which is my favorite. If you've been in my world for a while, you know that I teach the tabletop all the time. Okay, so now we're entering an exercise. I'm going to teach you an exercise that is actually amazing for the hip mobility, glute strength, hip strength, but it also opens the chest and mobilizes the shoulders and the thoracic spine. And that is the wonderful tabletop. So tabletop is a bit of a cross between mobility movement and a strength exercise, and it's fabulous, okay? So ideally you will have your fingers facing towards the hips. If you don't have enough wrist strength or wrist mobility, you can open them anywhere you want, okay? From here, you're gonna pop the chest here, you're gonna pop the chest forward, and you're going to compress the shoulder blades down. And from here, you're going to lift, okay? So you're going to squeeze your glutes and really use a lot of power and strength to pop yourself up there. If you are over here because you've got tight hips, that's okay. But ideally, you would want to create this staple shape, okay, with your body. Exhale as you come up. Yeah. This is the tabletop. It's incredible for strengthening the whole hip structure and then strengthening the shoulders and opening the chest. Often you get locked up because you're here, so this is kind of opening it the other way. If you have to sit in front of a computer, and I know that's a reality for a lot of people, because a lot of us have computer-based work, think about how you can take breaks during your workday to do some exercises like this, either during your day or in the morning to get ready for your workday, or in the evening, even better, to remove all the tension that has accumulated in your body during your workday, okay?
So these are the 3 exercises. So 2 for specifically for the thoracic spine. The tabletop crosses over. It's a bit of a whole body exercise. It's fabulous. So you can get so strong in your hips and in your glutes just by doing the tabletops, okay? And then obviously, if you've been following me for a while, you know that head mobility is definitely my jam. I teach head mobility all the time. So let's go through a bit of a head mobility flow, okay? So from here, we're just going to fold the legs one way. And then here, we're going to start releasing the hip flexor. So just pushing the glute forward, yeah? And you would feel it quite deep inside the hip. Don't overstretch it. You just want to mobilize it, okay? From here, we can go into an extension. So now you're popping up, okay? Now, this is quite challenging for a lot of people. I get it, yeah? But if you can't do this easily, then that's your sign that you need to start doing some serious hip work, okay? You can use a little bit of momentum to rock into it, yeah? Or if you really can't still do that, then you can use your hands to push up, okay? But if you cannot do this with ease, and if you cannot do this with full extension in the hip, so not here, but here, then this is your sign that you really need to start working on your hips, okay? Having a tight and weak hips, it's not a good thing. Because if you fall and break a hip, and I've talked about this so many times before, your mortality is basically, I think if you break a hip, for most people, it's the beginning of the end. It is tragic. It happens to a lot of people. And I think like 75% of people will never gain the level of independence and functionality that they had before they broke a hip. And it happens to men as well. More to women, but it happens to men as well. And I think your mortality rate goes up like 40% in the first year after break. For most people, it means they are in a wheelchair, they have to move to assisted living, okay? And who would have thought that simple movement like this, when you start doing it in your 40s, will prevent that outcome 20, maybe 10, maybe 30 years down the line, okay? So hip extension, super important, incredible test for where your hips are at in terms of mobility and strength, okay? From here, we can go into pigeon. So leave that glute on the ground. It's not like a yoga pigeon, yeah? And then just what you're doing, you're extending the back leg, rolling the hip on top of it. If you can't fully extend the leg, that's okay. You can just leave it bent. Just go to your comfortable range, but don't lift the other glute off the ground. The full expression of the movement is here, yeah? It's a beautiful stretch for the glutes and the hips. And then we're just going to finish with a spinal twist. So in the spinal twist, both cheekbones, both butt cheeks, not cheekbones, butt cheeks are on the ground, yeah? And you are twisting over. If that's too difficult, you can come on the inside, all right? So that's just working the hip. What's really nice in the hip flow is to come in the middle and then you do your tabletops from here, yeah? It's a kind of nice transition. So it's like a whole hip flow. You can do as many as you want, and then we're going to go on to the other side. Again, we're going to start with the hip flexor stretch, and then see how you go with the extension on the other side. Yeah? If you are okay with the hip extension, you find here, and you're not finding it very difficult, and you would like to increase your strength, you can load the hip extension, which is actually quite nice, which turns it into a strength exercise. So if you have a kettlebell at home or a medicine ball or a dumbbell or anything that's weighty, it could be just a rock from your garden, okay? You don't have to buy fitness equipment specifically. I'm going to show you. You're going to just hold it. And then you're going to do your hip extensions from that, yeah? You're going to hold it. You're going to pack your shoulders, yeah? You're going to notice that it's loading your core really nicely as well. Make sure you're not shrugging your shoulders, yeah? And then see how you go. Take your mobility training to the next level and load it. Turn it into a strength exercise. Remember, strong hips is everything. It really is. If I had to choose I mean, I wouldn't want to, but if I had to choose, I'll be definitely working on my hips. That's where it's like the engine of the body, okay? Let's go to the pigeon. Again, whatever version you can do, just go to your comfortable range. Remember that this glute stays on the ground, and then we're going to move to the spinal twist here. Both sit bones on the ground, yeah? Remember, building strong muscles is important, but building strong joints is even more important, okay? You will actually build strong muscles while you're building strong joints with mobility, especially when you're loading it, okay? And again, we're going to come to the middle, and then you can finish with a few hip flexors here again, okay? So you've got like a full hip flow, plus a couple of exercises for the thoracic spine, okay? So let me know how you found this. Let me know what exercises made you feel good, or what exercises did you struggle with. Often, when you're doing new exercises, it's a really good test to see where your limitations and where your gaps in conditioning are. Take it as a feedback. But take it as a serious feedback, because if you can't do a full hip extension like I showed you, at presumably most of us here are in our 40s and 50s. If you can't do it now, it's not going to get better on its own, and it can have some really, really serious implications for you a little bit down the line, okay? Once you can't get off comfortably off the floor or in and out of a car or up and down the stairs because you've got tight, weak hips, it's not great. Yeah, you're going to be really limited in what you can do. You might have to move out of your home, or might have to, modify your home to suit your kind of diminishing physical ability. So if I was you, take it very seriously. If you've got some limitations, if you don't, it's fabulous. Even if you don't, though, see where you can go and where you can take it to the next level. Maybe you're going to start doing loaded mobility. And I should actually do a training on loaded mobility, because it's amazing. I use the steel mace for that, which is quite light. And then I use kettlebells and club bells for a bit of a loaded mobility as well, which is amazing. Okay. So, oh, yay. No, perfect start to the day in the office. Absolutely. Yeah. If you do the hip flow like before you start, plus those 2 thoracic spine exercises, it will take you 10 minutes before your work day, and you will just turn up. It makes you feel good. When you do mobility in the mornings, it fills you with energy. It removes kind of some of that residual stiffness and tightness we get when we sleep. It removes the adhesions of our fascia to our muscles, which often start creating kind of tension points in our body as well. And you just feel good. You feel ready for the day. And then in the evening, it's kind of nice to put the day behind you, do a little bit more mobility, and then that ensures that you go to bed kind of feeling really good and relaxed, and have a good sleep, okay? So thank you so much for watching. I saw that a couple of people join me on live, which is wonderful. If you're watching the replay, do ask questions if you have any questions. And remember that I have a range of programs. I can help you with mobility and strength. All the programs that I put out are only 10 minutes a day. That's all you have to commit, 10 minutes a day to move and feel better, to get strong and, build strong bones, strong muscles, and age like a fine wine. Okay. So thank you for watching, beautiful women. Have a great day or evening or morning. Somebody's off into the office, out to the office. That's where I'm off as well. So have a great day. Ka kite ano. Lots of love, and I'll see you next Wednesday. Bye.